Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes is a goddamn mouthful. I'm calling it Futh. I have 40 hours in this game. I finished one story route. I have thoughts, many thoughts, 10 to be exact. 5 of those thoughts are good thoughts. We love good thoughts. The other 5, not so good thoughts. Let's begin with the bad because the algorithm loves pessimism. Very, 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 very mild spoiler warning. Like, end of prologue warning. Like, 2 hours into the game, if that, warning. Let's get started. The first bad on my list, the maps. I had pretty low expectations for maps in this game because my biggest gripe with Fire Emblem 3 Houses were the maps. The map to chapter ratio was miserable, causing many maps to be reused, multiple times in a single route. It makes sense that Koei Tecmo were the ones who worked on that game considering they make Warriors games, which reuse maps like heck. I went into 3 Hopes expecting this issue, so I'm not too torn up about it. That's why it's at the bottom of this list. I don't know the exact number of maps in this game, but there really aren't that many. At least in a Warriors game, maps aren't as important. When it comes to a tactical RPG like Fire Emblem, maps are a huge factor. Maps are heavily tied to the gameplay of those games. They're like a whole separate unit themselves. You work around the map in the game. Your gameplay relies on the map. They're less of a factor in a Warriors setting because they don't tie into the gameplay nearly as much. So while there are a low amount of maps, it's not as offensive as the maps in the other game set in Fodlan. At least for now. 3 Houses 2, 4 Houses, has not been announced yet. Now with a positive at number 9, the accelerated plot. Another aspect I didn't like about 3 Houses was that the first half of the game couldn't be skipped when doing multiple routes, and it felt like it dragged on in subsequent playthroughs, especially because it lasted at least 30 hours. In 3 Hopes, 30 hours is roughly 3/4 of the whole story. Thank the Lord! The prologue, which is the Academy segment of the game, only lasts 4 battles, and 2 of them are tutorial. And while the third map is the same for everyone, the 4th map in the prologue is completely unique to whichever route the player chooses. 3 Houses would never do that. It goes beyond the prologue. The whole plot is accelerated. Outside of a few chapters here and there, the story is paced pretty well and doesn't feel like it drags. The replays of this game will be far more satisfying than 3 Houses. I sound like I'm trashing 3 Houses a lot, but I'm not. I like that game. It's just the maps and the repetition are what really killed it for me. Back with the negative. The bad. Number 8. The world map. Now, the world map is fine. It's actually pretty cool. I'm going to talk about the fun parts of it in a minute, but let's discuss the bad parts of it. The genuinely infuriating part of it all. The world map is segmented into multiple regions every chapter. Each region has a skirmish and a few locations to gather resources. These spots are sometimes locked behind certain requirements. My biggest issue are the resource spots that are locked behind a requirement of must complete all side missions in this area. Every side mission being every resource area in the region, right? No. Oh, it must mean get S rank on every mission in the area. No. It means the actual side missions presented in the map, which you can't even check on the menus, must be done. Every single mission presents at least one side mission. These are typically small, simple things the player can do during the battle, but they're also so minor that sometimes they slip by without realizing. Be sure to check every base for the missing item is an example of these minor quests. I wouldn't have such an issue with this if we could check the side missions found in the battle in a menu, so then I could focus solely on that when replaying the map. But we don't have that at all. Why? Why isn't it on the menu? Why can't I check the side missions on the menu of the mission? And at the end of the day, perhaps me and a bunch of others are missing something, but I don't know. This is a very specific issue. It's a nitpick, honestly, but I've seen a lot of people become frustrated with this. I put this as a bad, but it's more of an inconvenience than anything. Now for the good parts of the world map. I love this world map, it's so cool. I explained how it works in the last part, so I won't retread my vocal footsteps. Collecting resources and playing small missions on the world map is honestly one of my favorite parts of the game. I love building bases and expanding shops in any game, so that's a major plus for me in Three Hopes. Them tying it into world building makes it even greater. The world map is excellent, and I get very giddy every time I see more regions available to explore. Number 6. The base is a miss for me. While I love building up the base camp, I don't really like the actual base camp. In between battles, Shez, our excellent protagonist we'll talk about later, explores the camp of your army. There's a blacksmith, training grounds, an owl, a supply depot, a battalion manager, and a bunch of other small vendors. This is cool. I like them, but exploring the base camp feels unnecessary. I would much rather just have all these in an easily accessible and well-designed menu on the world map. I like running around and talking to my anime soldiers, but it gets real repetitive going around the same area for almost a quarter of the game's playtime. I had a similar issue with Three Houses. By the end of my 200 plus hours in that game, I wanted to upchuck every time I stepped foot in Garrikmach Monastery. It's tiresome. The scenery never changes. It's the same music. Not to sound like an elitist, but I miss the non-exploration Fire Emblem games, to be honest. Except Echoes. Echoes did it so right. My children, the golden deer, are relevant. And that's my number 5. Mild spoilers here for both Fodlan games, but I need to say them to explain why I love this. In Three Houses, the story really felt like Blue Lions were the protagonists and the Black Eagles were the antagonists. But even in the Golden Deer route, it felt like the Blue Lion story. And finally, in Three Hopes, the Golden Deer feel like the protagonists. They feel like they're actually in this story and not just a side character, a comic relief, someone who's just there in the background. They're real, they matter. They're changing the world. And Claude, oh my baby boy, beautiful boy, lovely Claude hot boy is so good. Three Houses Claude is such a great guy. Maybe a little too perfect. Nothing really goes wrong with any of his schemes or plans. There's no struggle for him, and Three Hopes amends that. He has struggles. He has flaws. He's a whole different person. It's amazing. He's such a great character in this game. I'm so happy they fixed my king. Oh, Claude is hot. This game also made me like Lawrence, but I can't say that publicly. Number 4, which makes me grumpy, is the ranking system. In the original Hyrule Warriors in 2014 and Fire Emblem Warriors in 2017, they had ranking systems. Fire Emblem Warriors specifically had 2,000 kills, less than 30% damage, and within 15 minutes to achieve S rank on I think on every single map. And out of all that, the time limit is what really irked me. And flash forward to 2020, Age of Calamity released, and there wasn't a hint of a ranking system, which was so damn cool. It was so much more accessible, it was so much easier to 100%. I could play each map without worrying about a time limit, or a kill limit, or a damage percentage. I was free to do whatever the hell I wanted. It was freeing, it was so fun, and I just assumed this would be the new norm. Nope. Three Hopes brought it back. In Three Hopes, to achieve S rank, you typically need 1,500 kills, 15 minutes, and less than 50% damage. That's the norm, but it does change up quite a bit, and there is more time allotted on bigger maps, which is appreciated, but it still exists, and I don't like that. And I could just not get the S rank, but the rewards tied to getting S rank are always so valuable and beneficial to the gameplay that I needed to get the S rank. I want to get that special axe for Hilda. I want to get that extra money. I need to level up Bernadetta because I'm never going to use her. Striving for the S rank always took me out of the experience. Whenever I had to pause each minute and check the damage percentage, the time, and a kill counter that actually displays how many that have been killed instead of the one on screen, which is just a liar. It's just how much I've killed. I need to know how much my army is killed. Why don't they have that on the screen? Why do I have to pause for that? Honestly, I don't really like ranks in a lot of games because I'm a casual player when it comes to beat 'em ups, I guess. I know a bunch of people do, and that's okay. Ranks are just not for me, but it's still going to be my negative on this list. Let's get more positive. The strategies menu. Number 3, this thing rocks. Before each story battle, the player is given a certain amount of points and a strategy menu. This strategy menu allows interactivity with the map. Do you want your units to build a bridge so you can get to a place faster? Use 20 points to make that happen during the battle. Do you want to recruit a character from another army? Use 30 points to convince them when the time is right. There are a bunch of different options you can enact before each battle, and they can make every chapter feel different and more interactive. I love options like this in any game. It's tough to explain how cool it is without trying it for yourself. At the end of the day, it's really cool and I like this a lot. Put this in every game somehow, even Animal Crossing. On to my final and biggest negative point of this game, the post-game, or lack thereof. When I think of Warriors games, I think of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of game. Hyrule Warriors had so many adventure maps, each taking easily 150 hours to 100%. Fire Emblem Warriors had a bunch of history mode maps, which added so much to the game time. Age of Calamity had the whole map of Hyrule from Breath of the Wild filled with missions. Three Hopes post-game? Go do another route. Go experience another story. View this story again, and again, and again, and again, until you get 100%. There isn't a map where I can just take on missions. I can only either do missions that are tied to the story or the same type of skirmishes in between chapters that will eventually become super monotonous. They even added a thing in the postgame where you can skip them because they knew they would become monotonous. I'm horribly disappointed in this game's postgame simply because I burned myself out on Three Houses by playing all the routes so soon after one another. And Three Hopes encourages that same mentality that will undoubtedly burn me out. It will hurt me to put this game down before 100%ing it, but it'll be the best for me. I just hope the inevitable DLC gives us a map of Fodlan filled with a ton of diverse and unique missions or something. So let's end on a positive. The greatest thing about this game, Shez, the player character. I have been pretty vocal about Shez on social media and even on my channel. I like Shez a lot. They're a really fun and interesting character with a super cool origin story that's so mysterious, and they fit perfectly in Fodlan. I love almost every support they're in. I also just really love their design too. I know it's a silly hairstyle and a weird outfit, but they kind of slay. Their voice acting is also super top notch, which is fitting with the rest of the cast, of course. Don Bennett and Damian Haas nail the lines so well. And Shez's dynamic with Byleth and their rivalry is so good. They're totally in love. It feels so awesome to have someone that actually matches Byleth's absurd power levels. In Three Houses, Byleth felt unstoppable. They finally feel stoppable with Shez. Also, Shez is a monster on the battlefield. I know the developers have recently talked about how they made Shez the strongest and most broken unit in the game to incentivize players to play as them. They succeeded, because I think Shez is my favorite character to play as in any Warriors game. And honestly, my hottest take from Three Hopes is I think that they're one of the best Fire Emblem protagonists in a long time. Not counting Almond Celica, of course, though, because that was a remake. That doesn't count. I truly adore Shez. They are my reason to keep playing. I love them. Those are my 10 things about Futh. There are so many other things I'd list on here. The music, the supports, the awards, there's so much in this game. I plan on making a fully fledged review of this game in the coming weeks. I'll slap that on this video's end screen when it's finished. So let me know your thoughts on this game so far. How are you enjoying it? Do you agree or disagree with my list? Let me know. And just remember,
a taste more bitter than blackest coffee.
Yeah, I've heard that enough.